we're going to talk about trading for Nolan Arenado because that is a topic that's kind of popped up recently. There's been some discussion about maybe the Diamondbacks having interest, or maybe the sides at least discussing potentially a trade. We
Geraldo Perdomo's potential tampering at the All-Star game.
Yes, that's what we knew he was tampering. we knew it was tampering the whole time. But yeah, rumors are heating up a bit about Arenado possibly coming to the Valley. Is there any truth to it? Who knows? We do have a tweet from Gambo that kind of rains on our parade. But before we get there, let's talk about some of his numbers.
Yeah, Nolan Arenado, pretty typical Nolan Arenado year offensively. 283, 332, 518, 19 homers, 62 RBI. I mean, you look at, on this pace over the course of a full season, you're looking at 35 homers, 115 RBIs, something like that. 2 wins above replacement from Fangraphs, which is actually pretty low for Nolan Arenado at this point in the season. And the big reason for that is that Nolan Arenado is, at least according to the defensive metrics, is not really a very good third baseman anymore.
Whoa,
which
so
I was pretty shocked by. If you look at Nolan Arenado's defensive numbers, both of them, both outs above average and defensive runs saved, are clearly in the negative, which obviously Nolan Arenado is generally leading the league in one or both of those categories pretty much every year. But yeah, I mean, at this point in the season, if we go to his fielding metrics, if I can find them, here they are. He is at -4 defensive runs saved and -3 outs above average. So he has been a below average third baseman, but as you can see with those offensive numbers, he's still been pretty much himself offensively.
But he's got no 850 OPS, and that's all we care about, Jesse. Let's take a look at some of those pros and cons about trading for Nolan Arenado. Obviously, we know the offense is still there, as we just discussed, and especially for a young Arizona Diamondbacks team, he brings veteran experience.
However, he's Longo that plays every day.
I was going to say, the Diamondbacks, we already have veteran experience at home.
But he's Longo that gets to play every day.
That is true. That is true. But as Jesse pointed out, those poor defensive metrics, those definitely make it hard to think of him as a possible target. Now, one of the things that Jesse says here is that a pro could be potential low prospect cost, and I've seen that kind of differing based on just rumors and speculation mostly. But that's a big part of this situation, right? Is what is it going to cost for the Arizona Diamondbacks to get somebody like this? And then on the con side, the financial commitment, what his contract already is that the Diamondbacks would have to take on, and the fact that he is under team control through 2027.
Yeah, he's due to make about $13 million for the remainder of this season, $35 million in 2024, $32 million in 2025, $27 million in 2026. And then the Cardinals also gave him one more year on top of his original deal. So he will make $15 million in 2027. So altogether, that's about $122 million that you're committing to Nolan Arenado from now through the end of the 2027 season, which is, that's 4.5 years of Nolan Arenado altogether. He also has full no trade protection. So let's just say this probably isn't going to happen with all of these obstacles. And frankly, the fact that Nolan at least does not appear to be the same defender at third base that he has been in the past, that really zaps his value significantly.
Because the Diamondbacks have that in a way, right? They have the offensive production at times from their third baseman. It's not a matter of Emmanuel Rivera not being able to hit or Evan Longoria not hitting. Like you said, his slugging percentage it's great. It's a matter of what kind of all-around player could they bring in to really fit with the core of this team and be the future third baseman for years to come. Like, if he was a young guy, if he played great defense, then I feel like that is potentially worth the amount that you're going to have to give up. However, you're saying that it's not going to take potentially a Drew Jones or Jordan Lawler
I don't think so.
You would think it would take maybe like a Dominic? Would take a Dominic?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they like Brandon Pfaadt, if they like one of the Dominics, they could have their choice of the Dominics.
Yeah, whatever Dominic you want.
I don't think that at least realistically, I mean, maybe if the D-backs made this phone call, the Cardinals would ask for Drew Jones, and that's where the price would be, and they wouldn't accept anything less.
That's what I would ask from the Diamondbacks, no matter what. That's where we start.
There would be no reason to do that. In fact, if you just kind of do the math here, if you compare what Nolan Arenado is slated to make over the next 4 seasons and his projected production over that time frame, now that he has not been the same defender that he's been in the past, he's kind of a negative asset. Like, I think Nolan Arenado moving forward is making more money than he's probably worth.
And that's the only reason why the Cardinals would feasibly want to part ways with him, especially if they are potentially deciding to rebuild and focus around maybe a younger player like Jordan Walker or something of that sort, right? Or, I mean, that kind of core. I don't mean like Jordan Walker particularly, but like a younger core, much like the Diamondbacks kind of have to focus around. You're not wrong.
You want to talk about bad defenders. Jordan Walker's defensive metrics are an absolute. Yeah. I've never seen a player who is like a well above average hitter, and yet, like, according to wins above replacement, is just like a terrible, like, below replacement level player. That's basically what Jordan Walker has been so far.
That's what Damon did to him.
He was so easy to defeat. It's
that was one of Damon's first opponents. That was
Damon.
level 1. He wasn't even an end boss.
Me and Ellie are currently in a locked-on war.
Oh, yeah. Ellie's like Mike Tyson and Punch-Out to Damon over here right now. He's looking like a tough opponent. Now, of course, this is all speculation. We have plenty of reasons to think that this trade would not happen, and we are leaning definitely in that direction. We don't even think that that's really a good trade for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but it is a trade that's come up recently. Of course, the Trade Reaper already killed this one. Let's take a look at Gambo's tweet. He said, getting a few asked on if D-backs are interested in Nolan Arenado from some report. Answer is no. Doesn't make sense. D-backs focused on pitching and possible right-handed outfield bat. Third base, not an area they are looking at. I can see that. Report. I don't believe that they're not looking at third base, but I do believe that it's definitely not with their weaknesses right now. I believe it's not a high priority. But if they could get a power hitting right-handed bat at third base that could play defense.
I mean, it's
also capture a unicorn while they were at it.
I'll tell you this right now: if the deadline comes and goes, and they have acquired a third baseman and no arms, I will be very upset. If the deadline comes and goes, and they've acquired arms and no third baseman, I will not care.
There you go.
Actually, I'll be very happy. So, like, the third base would be cool, and Nolan Arenado was a cool name, but that's not in my mind, you either need to get guys that are going to be positive assets for a handful of years, or you are not going to be tied into for a long time, unless you think that you're going to win the World Series this year, and in which case, whatever happens after that doesn't matter. Like, you've won your World Series, but it just seems like a mistake if they were to go that route.
Jacob Nevin is screaming out Lane Thomas in the chat. He's on my Diamond Dynasty team. He's not very good, but that's probably because I'm not. It's probably not because I'm not very good.
Trade assets.
I absolutely trade them all based on my players in the Diamond Dynasty league. But
he was playing techno ball. It's like Bo Jackson sucks.
Bo Jackson is the worst.
I will say I'm a little surprised by Gambo's report. The D-backs aren't even looking at third baseman.
Elise said that too in the chat. I agree.
I wouldn't think that would be a priority for them. Like, clearly, the starting pitching and bullpen help would be at the top of the list. And I think a right-handed hitting outfield bat probably makes a little bit more sense given their roster construction than a right-handed hitting third baseman. But also, like, I don't want to overstate how good Longoria and Rivera have been. Frankly, Emmanuel Rivera, for as good as his batting average has been through most of the season, man's hitting pretty much all singles. There just hasn't really been any pop there. And he's a decent defender at third base, but he's not providing a ton of value on that side of the ball. And then Evan Longoria's numbers are pretty good, but he's getting the platoon advantage so often. He's facing so many lefties. If you were to play Evan Longoria every day, like the D-backs would play a Nolan Arenado type, Evan Longoria wouldn't have a 550 slugging percentage or whatever it is now. He's heavily benefiting from the platoon advantage there. So I'm a little surprised the D-backs wouldn't at least kick the tires on a third baseman, even if it's not their top priority.